Hello, my dear curious and studious students of surgery. Myself, Dr. Mahesh Chaudhary. I am warm welcoming you in my surgery lecture series. This surgery lecture series contains entire surgery with anesthesia, with radiology, with orthopedic. So stay tuned with us. Let's start our surgery lecture series. Welcome, my dear students, in my surgery lecture number 104, that is the amputation. In this lecture, we will explore the amputation of the various parts, limbs of the body, indication for amputations, ideal level for amputation, the ideal stump, types of the amputation, and complication of the amputation stump. All these points are covered in this lecture. So start with me, the amputation. Though amputation is the part of the orthopedic surgery, even though it is included in the general surgery also, like various types of gangrene, then arterial and venous diseases, diabetic foot, all are the conditions in which the amputation may be needed. First we start with the indication. First is the congenital. In the congenital stage, the supernumerary digits, that is the polydactylism, in such cases there is a need of the amputation also. Second is the traumatic. As the time is passing by less and less amputations are being performed due to the trauma, today an increasing tendency towards the conservatism has been developed. Of course, an advance in antibiotics and chemotherapy has also lessened and incidence of amputation. Even then, in severe wounds and injuries when the limb cannot be saved in any way, amputation should be done not only to save the limb but also to save the patient's life also. Second is the inflammatory. Amputations from this condition have considerably been reduced in recent years due to the advent of efficient antibiotics and chemotherapeutics, so amputation is seldom advised for acute osteomyelitis, diabetic cellulitis, or even septic arthritis nowadays. Sometimes chronic infections of the foot such as mother of foot may require amputation. And fourth is the vascular insufficiency. Great majority of the patients requiring amputation are victims of the vascular insufficiency. The main artery to the limb may be injured, which may compel the surgeon to perform amputation if arterial repair becomes not possible. Vascular insufficiency from atherosclerosis or other forms of arterial diseases may give rise to intermittent claudication or later on rest pain. Fifth is the malignant tumors. In malignant tumors such as the osteosarcoma, fibrosarcoma, chondrosarcoma, etc., amputation is required in most of the time. In osteosarcoma, the trend of the treatment has considerably been changed during recent years. Now, sixth is the diabetes. Quite a number of patients who come for amputation are diabetic. Diabetic atherosclerosis plays a major part to cause gangrene of the limb. Sugar-laden edematous tissues often becomes infected and makes the condition worse, which may call for ablation of the limb. Now, the ideal level for amputation. To choose the level at which amputation should be performed, the following factors should be considered. First is the extent of the injury or disease. Should certainly be considered first. When atherosclerosis gangrene is cause for amputation, it should be performed through the well vascularized part of the limb. No set rule can be observed, as was previously done, that even in case of gangrene of the toes, a minor thigh amputation was recommended. Second is the function of the stump. The level at which amputation should be carried out does not entirely depend upon the disease. Due to consideration must be given to the function of the stump. The level of the amputation should be such that it should be ideal for artificial limb fitting, and only then the proper function of the stump can be obtained. For this, a consultation with the artificial limb maker should always be made to design the best possible stump. Now, the ideal stump. The surgeon should know what is meant by the term ideal stump. First is the stump should be optimum length. Second, the end of the stump should be smoothly rounded. Third, the stump should be firm. Fourth, the opposing groups of the muscles should be sutured together over the end of the bone. The muscles are sutured in such a way that they will be converted into fibrous tissue and will serve as an effective cushion which protects the skin. And fifth, for the ideal stump, the vascularity of the flaps should be normal. Sixth, there should be no projecting spur of the bone. 7. The stump should neither be redundant and not be under the tension. 8. The position of the scar should be such as to avoid the pressure. And 9 point for the ideal stump is the resulting scar should be fully mobile and should neither be adherent nor be infolded. In case of the upper limb, the scar may be terminal, but in case of the lower limb, the posterior scar is desirable to avoid the pressure of the weight on the artificial limb. In case of the forearm, the scar should be transverse as anterior-posterior scar may be pulled up between the two bones. Dear students, here is the image showing the amputated part and the stump, that is the below knee amputation, and this is the ideal stump. You can see this is the another below knee amputation, BK amputation. Ideal stump is there. Now types of amputation. Mainly there are two types of amputation, either guillotine type or a flap type. First is the guillotine type. In this type of amputation, all the structures of the limb are divided at the same level and the wound including the bone is left open. Though it is the most primitive type of the amputation, yet it is used even nowadays in case of gas gangrene, where immediate amputation in the guillotine type is performed as soon as possible to save the patient's life. Otherwise, this type of the amputation has become obsolete as there is a good chance of secondary infection, which not only involves the soft tissue but also the bone. Whenever it is used nowadays, it is always followed by a re-amputation at the higher level in a flap method to cover the bone end with soft tissue. And second is the flap method. This type of amputation is mostly carried out nowadays. There are different types of flap methods, that is the circular, elliptical, racket, semicircular or rectangular, etc. In circular method, the skin and muscles are divided circularly at a lower level than the bone, so that they provide a covering for the bony stump. In elliptical or oval method, the upper end of the ellipse is placed on the level of the bone section, while the lower end should lie at the distance below this, equal to 1.5 times the diameter of the limb. Racket method is often used in case of the disarticulation at the metacarpal and metatarsophalangeal joints, and is also applied for the disarticulation of the shoulder or the hip joints. Semicircular or rectangular method is by far the most widely practiced amputation. Either two flaps of equal length or a single flap is used. For the amputation surgery, there is a essential of use of tourniquet. Then we see the application of a tourniquet. Most of the major amputations should be performed under the bloodless condition by using a tourniquet. At first, the limb is held elevated for a few minutes to drain out the blood. A rubber bandage may be worn to get rid of the venous blood, and then the tourniquet is applied. In arterial degeneration, rubber bandage should not be used, and in certain cases, even tourniquet should be avoided lest it should be lead to more arterial damage. In septic cases and in malignant cases, rubber bandage should be avoided, but tourniquet may be used even in these conditions also. Dear students, now you can watch the image on your screen, that is the operation of the Symes amputation. First image showing the skin incision for Symes amputation, and second image showing the talus is dissected and the calcaneus is erased from the heel flap, and the third diagram showing the completed heel flap showing the vital calcaneal branches of the posterior tibial and the peroneal arteries. Now next point is the complication of the amputation stump. There are two types, early complications and late complications. First is the early complications, reactionary and secondary hemorrhage. Second is the infection of the soft tissue and bone. Abscess may be found which requires drainage and antibiotic treatment. Third is the amputation may be followed by deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism in the early post-operative days. So subcutaneous heparin 5000 units twice daily is strongly advised for several weeks after operation to avoid the pulmonary embolism. Fourth is the gas gangrene, may occur particularly in mid-thigh amputation. Such gangrene usually occurs from the contamination by patient's feces. Now complication of the amputation. Second is the late complications. Fifth is the adherent and painful scar. Sixth is the stump neuroma, which is the proliferation of nerve fibrils at the point of nerve division. In all amputations, there will be some amount of neuroma formation, but painful neuroma is the result of a faulty technique. Seven is the phantom limb. This is the peculiar phenomenon in which the patient feels that he still possesses the amputated limb. It occurs in more than 50% of cases. Painful phantom is a distressing condition in which the patient complains of pain in the amputated part of the limb which is actually does not possess. 9. Late complication of the amputation stump. Necrosis of the skin flap may occur if the vascular supply of the flaps are not sufficient enough. 10. Unresolved infection may lead to osteitis, sequestrum formation and sinus. There may be a bone spur. 11th is a causalgia, is nothing but a persistent pain at the end of the amputation stump. This is mostly seen in case of the amputation of digits. 12th, flexion contracture of the proximal joint has already discussed. 13 is the jactitation in an intermittent spasm of the amputation stump which becomes very distressing to the patient. And fourth and final late complication of the amputation stump is the ulceration of the stump may occur due to the pressure effects of the prosthesis. Some patient may be troubled by cold and discolored stump, particularly during winter due to the ischemia. Now the types of the amputation. First is the below knee amputation, that is the Burgess. The site of the election of amputation through the leg is 5.5 inches from the knee joint and the minimum length is 3 inches of the tibia. Burgess posterior flap technique is much preferred in case of the patient with vascular disease for the simple reason that the posterior flap is much more vascular than the anterior flap. So, in such cases, the BK amputation is preferred. Second is the supracondylar and Gritty-Stokes amputation. In supracondylar amputation, the end of the stump is broad, which previously was condemned by a limb makers, but gradually it is becoming popular and problem of the limb fitting have largely been overcome. In Gritty-Stokes amputation, the anterior flap extends down to the tibial tubercle and the posterior flap is half as long as the anterior one. Third is through knee amputation. This operation is gradually becoming popular due to its wide end bearing stump. The patient is placed in supine position with the knee hanging over the drop end section of the table. The anterior flap extends to the tibial tubercle and the short posterior flap extends to a level a little below the knee joint. Now, next is the above knee amputation. The exact level is not so important unless a sophisticated knee joint mechanism is to be provided, in which cases the lower end of the femur should terminate well above the knee joint. The site of the election of this amputation is about 10 inches, that is the 25 to 30 centimeters to the tip of the greater trochanter. Now, the disarticulation of the hip joint. This is the indicated in case of the osteosarcoma of the femur. The operation can be done either through a posterior flap, the anterior part of the incision lying 1 inch below the parallel to the inguinal ligament, or through the anterior racket incision. The handle of the racket is placed over the femoral vessels and the medial flap is kept longer so that the scar falls away from. At first, the femoral vessels are ligated and divided. The femoral nerve is divided in the usual way. All the muscles are divided by the elevating, abducting, adducting and rotating the limb. The sciatic nerve, which lies deep to the gluteus maximus, is cut short. If possible, the head and neck of the femur should be preserved for better shape of the stump. Dear students, here is a good picture showing the Burgess below knee amputation. First image showing the skin incision for the Burgess below knee amputation. Second image showing the gastrocnemius soleus mass is tapered and the posterior flap completed. And the third image showing the gastrocnemius is sutured to the tibial periosteum and fascia. And fourth image showing the skin is trimmed and sutured and well amputated stump is there. And this image showing the incision and the operative details of the through knee amputation. First image showing the long anterior flap for through knee amputation, and second image showing the patellar tendon is cut, the knee joint is open and the cruciate ligament are exposed for divisions. Now this image showing the skin incision and the steps of operation of the above knee amputation. First image showing the flaps for above knee amputation, and second image showing the ligature of the femoral vessels in the subsartorial canal, and the third image showing the hamstrings are sutured to the quadriceps, and fourth image showing the completed stump. This is the above knee amputation. Dear students, this image showing the above knee amputation. The Gigli saw wire is cutting the femur, lower end of the femur, incision and the stump is clearly seen. Now this image showing the skin incision and operation of the Gritty-Stokes amputation. Note that the white areas are to be amputated and the shaded areas are to be preserved. See the patella, how the patella is cut. The ligamentum patelli is now sutured to the tendon of the hamstring in such a fashion that the articular surface of the patella will be opposed to the cut end of the femur. At the side of the remnant of the capsules of the knee joint can be sutured to the periosteum of the femur. This results is an end-bearing stump, but the patella often becomes unstable in the Gritty-Stokes operation, and long stump exclude the use of the sophisticated knee prosthesis. Dear students, this image showing the above knee amputation and the artificial prosthesis is there, and this is the another picture showing the disarticulation of the knee joint, and finally this image showing the disarticulation of the hip joint. As we see previously, at first the femoral vessels are ligated and divided. The femoral nerve is divided in the usual way. All the muscles are divided by elevating, abducting and rotating the limb. The sciatic nerve, which lies deep to the gluteus maximus, is cut short. If possible, the head and neck of the femur should be preserved for better shape of the stump. Dear students, here is the end of our surgery lecture number 104, that is the amputation. For knowing the details, you can refer the textbook of surgery. Thank you.